The great crystal dome of Nexus Prime sparkled under 3 purple suns. Inside the massive building, beings from across the galaxy had gathered for the most important military show of the century. 12 powerful alien races had come to display their deadliest weapons. The air buzzed with excitement and the smell of exotic fuels. Admiral Jake Morrison walked slowly through the main entrance. His black uniform looked plain next to the bright armor and flowing robes of the alien visitors. Behind him, Dr. Lisa Carter carried a simple metal case. She wore basic military clothes and thick glasses. Neither human looked impressive compared to the towering aliens around them. The Zephyrian section glowed with blue light. Tall, thin beings with silver skin showed off plasma cannons that hummed with deadly energy. Each weapon was the size of a small car and covered in glowing tubes. When fired, these guns could melt through the hull of a battleship in seconds. The Zephyrians stood proud, their large eyes reflecting the blue glow of their weapons. "Behold, the thunder of Zephyr," announced Counselor Thex, the lead Zephyrian representative. His voice echoed through speakers built into his throat. "These plasma cannons draw power from star cores. One shot can destroy an entire city block." Nearby, the Krillian Dominion had set up their display. The reptilian beings, covered in green, scales and standing 8 feet tall, demonstrated energy weapons that made matter disappear. When they fired at test targets, the metal simply vanished into nothing. No smoke, no debris, just empty space where solid matter used to be. "Our molecular disruptors break the bonds between atoms," explained General Zeph, his forked tongue flicking out as he spoke. "Nothing can survive contact with pure destructive energy. Armor becomes useless. Shields mean nothing." The insectoid Vex Collective had brought bioorganic weapons that looked alive. The guns pulsed like beating hearts and dripped with strange fluids. These weapons fired living ammunition that could eat through any metal or stone. The Vex soldiers, with their 6 arms and compound eyes, handled the weapons like they were beloved pets. Other races showed equally impressive technology. The thermal lords brought weapons that could freeze or burn anything instantly. The void walkers demonstrated guns that opened tiny black holes. The crystal singers used sound waves that could shatter planets. Each display was more amazing than the last. Then the humans arrived at their assigned space. Jake Morrison opened the simple metal case. Inside, nestled in basic foam padding, were 3 ordinary-looking weapons: a rifle, a pistol, and what appeared to be a larger gun with a scope. They were made of black metal and looked incredibly simple compared to everything else in the room. The alien representatives noticed immediately. A wave of whispers spread through the crowd. Then came the pointing. Finally, the laughter started. Counselor Thex was the first to speak loudly. "What are those primitive devices? Do the humans still use chemical explosions to throw pieces of metal?" His silver face twisted into what might have been a smile. How wonderfully backward. General Zeth joined in the mockery. "We heard rumors about human guns, but seeing them is different. These look like something our ancestors might have used before we discovered real technology." His scaled hide rippled with amusement. "No wonder human expansion has been so slow. They are fighting with Stone Age tools." A Vex drone clicked its mandibles together, which was how their species laughed. "Our larvae play with more advanced toys than these ancient weapons. How do humans expect to compete in a modern galaxy with such crude devices?" The Thermal Lord representative, a being made of living flame, flickered brighter with amusement. "These humans burn chemical powder to push metal bullets. We control the very forces of heat and cold. There is no comparison." Dr. Lisa Carter stood quietly next to the weapons display. She watched the aliens laugh and point at their equipment. Her face showed no emotion, but she took notes on a simple tablet. Admiral Morrison crossed his arms and waited patiently for the mockery to die down. "Surely these are historical pieces," said a crystal singer, its voice like music. "Perhaps the humans brought museum artifacts to show us how far they have progressed from their primitive past." More laughter echoed through the dome. Some aliens took pictures of the human weapons to share with friends back home. Others made jokes about humans still living in caves and hitting things with rocks. The mockery grew louder and more cruel with each passing minute. A young Zephyrian pointed at the rifle and said something in his native language that made his elders laugh harder. An elderly Krillian shook his massive head and made comments about helping backward species learn real technology. Through it all, Jake Morrison and Lisa Carter remained calm. They had expected this reaction. They had prepared for the laughter, the pointing, and the jokes. What the aliens did not know was that these two humans had seen what their simple weapons could do. They had witnessed tests that would shock these advanced beings into silence. Admiral Morrison called Counselor Thex from across the display area. "Would you care to explain these interesting artifacts? Are they religious items, perhaps? Ceremonial pieces from your planet's ancient history?" Jake Morrison stepped forward. His voice was steady and clear. "These are standard-issue weapons used by human military forces. The rifle fires a 7.62 millimeter round at 850 meters per second. The pistol uses a 9 millimeter bullet. The sniper rifle can accurately hit targets at ranges exceeding 2,000 meters." The laughter grew even louder. Several aliens had to support themselves against their weapon displays to keep from falling over. With amusement. "Chemical propulsion," wheezed General Zeth. "Actual chemical propulsion in the year 2387. This is too perfect." "Wait until the Council hears about this," added a Void Walker. "Humans bringing gunpowder weapons to a military exhibition. It will be the joke of the century." Dr. Carter finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but carried clearly through the dome. "We would like to request a demonstration opportunity. If the Council permits, we would be happy to show how these weapons perform." The request caused a new wave of hilarity. The idea that humans wanted to demonstrate primitive guns alongside advanced energy weapons struck the aliens as the funniest thing they had heard in years. "Counselor," Thex wiped moisture from his large eyes. "Of course, dear humans. We would be delighted to see your chemical weapons in action. It will provide excellent entertainment for the assembled representatives. The testing ground will be available after the real weapons have been demonstrated," added General Zeth with obvious condescension. "You can show us how your ancestors fought wars." Jake Morrison nodded politely. "We appreciate the opportunity. I think you will find the demonstration educational." The aliens continued laughing as they returned to their impressive displays. None of them noticed the small smile that crossed Dr. Carter's face, or the way Admiral Morrison's eyes grew cold and hard. The humans packed their simple weapons back into the plain metal case and waited for their turn to show what chemical propulsion could really do. The mockery would end soon enough. The testing arena stretched out like a metal valley under the dome of Nexus Prime. Massive walls rose on all sides, built from the strongest materials known to the galaxy. The floor was covered in blast-resistant panels that could absorb the energy from any weapon. Floating platforms held various targets at different distances and heights. Admiral Jake Morrison stood at the edge of the firing line with Dr. Lisa Carter and 3 other humans who had arrived that morning. The aliens filled the observation galleries above, still chuckling about the primitive human weapons. Their own demonstrations had been impressive shows of advanced technology. The Zephyrian plasma cannons had melted through 6 feet of hardened steel in 3 seconds. The crowd had cheered as blue fire turned solid metal into glowing liquid. The Krillian disruptors had made an entire target simply vanish, leaving only empty air where matter used to exist. The Vex bioweapons had eaten through composite armor. Like acid through paper, each alien weapon had performed exactly as expected. Energy shields had stopped some attacks while letting others through. Adaptive armor had adjusted different energy frequencies. Regenerating materials had healed themselves after taking damage. Everything worked according to well-understood principles of advanced technology. Now it was time for the humans to show what chemical propulsion could do. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings, announced the arena controller, a floating robot with multiple arms. The human delegation will now demonstrate their historical weapons. Please prepare for what promises to be an amusing display of primitive technology. More laughter echoed from the galleries. Some aliens were recording the event to share as entertainment back on their home worlds. Others placed bets on whether the human weapons would even fire properly. Staff Sergeant Ryan Tucker stepped forward carrying the rifle. He was an average-sized man with short brown hair and calm eyes. His uniform was simple green fabric with basic armor plates. Nothing about him looked impressive compared to the tall, powerful aliens watching from above. The first target, announced the controller, is a Zephyrian Mark VII energy shield. This barrier has deflected every energy weapon tested today. It automatically adjusts frequency and intensity to counter incoming attacks. A shimmering blue wall appeared 50 meters downrange. The shield hummed with power, its surface rippling. Like water, behind it sat a metal target shaped like an enemy soldier. The energy barrier completely surrounded the target, leaving no gaps or weak points. Ryan Tucker raised his rifle and looked through the simple iron sights. No complex targeting computers, no energy readings, no frequency analyzers. Just a man, a gun, and a target. The shot echoed through the arena like thunder. The bullet, a piece of lead-cord metal weighing less than an ounce, flew through the air at 850 meters per second. It hit the energy shield and passed straight through as if the barrier did not exist. The shield flickered and sparked, but could not stop the solid projectile. The bullet struck the target behind the shield and exploded it into pieces. Silence fell over the arena. The floating controller's mechanical voice sounded confused. Please wait while we analyze what occurred. The energy shield appears to have failed somehow. Dr. Carter stepped forward. Her voice carried clearly in the quiet arena. The shield did not fail. Energy barriers are designed to absorb and deflect energy attacks. They work by disrupting energy patterns and redirecting force fields. A solid object moving at high speed has no energy pattern to disrupt. The bullet simply passed through. The aliens in the galleries began talking in worried whispers. This was not what they had expected to see. Next target, called the controller, sounding less confident than before. Quillian Adaptive Armor, Mark 12. This plating can analyze incoming attacks and adjust its molecular structure to provide maximum protection. A new target appeared, covered in gray metal that seemed to shift and flow like liquid. The adaptive armor was one of the most advanced defenses in the galaxy. It could become harder than diamond or softer than cloth, depending on what hit it. Energy weapons had barely scratched its surface during earlier tests. Marine Captain Amy Brooks walked to the firing line. She was a small woman with red hair and steady hands. She carried the pistol from the human display case. The weapon looked tiny compared to the massive energy guns the aliens had been using. Amy raised the pistol and fired 3 quick shots. The first bullet hit the adaptive armor, which immediately began changing its structure to defend against the metal projectile. But the armor needed time to analyze and adapt. The second bullet hit before the adaptation was complete, punching deeper into the target. The third bullet, fired just a split second later, broke through the armor completely and destroyed the target inside. Adaptation requires time, Amy said. Simply, bullets do not wait for armor to adjust. 3 shots in under 2 seconds gave the armor no chance to properly defend itself. The whispers in the galleries grew louder and more worried. These simple human weapons were defeating the galaxy's most advanced defenses using basic physics. "Final target," announced the controller, its mechanical voice now uncertain. "Vex biometal type Omega. This living armor can regenerate from any damage by absorbing energy and rebuilding itself." The last target was covered in what looked like black organic material. The biometal pulsed with life, constantly moving and shifting. When energy weapons had hit it during earlier tests, the material had absorbed the energy and used it to repair any damage. Holes had sealed themselves in seconds. Burn marks had disappeared almost instantly. Corporal Danny Walsh approached the firing line. He was young, maybe 25 years old, with blonde hair and a serious expression. He carried the larger gun. With the scope, what Dr. Carter had identified as a sniper rifle, but this weapon looked different from the others. The barrel was thicker, and the ammunition was larger. Danny aimed carefully and squeezed the trigger. The explosion was much louder than the previous shots. The bullet that hit the target was not simple metal. It was an explosive round designed to detonate on impact. Instead of making a small hole that the biometal could repair, the bullet created a massive crater that vaporized a large section of the living armor. The biometal tried to regenerate, sending tendrils of organic material toward the damaged area. But there was too much missing. The explosion had removed more material than the remaining biometal could replace. The target collapsed as the living armor died from catastrophic damage. The arena fell completely silent. Even the mechanical controller seemed stunned. Dr. Carter walked to the center of the firing line. "We have different types of ammunition for different targets. Armor-piercing rounds for hard targets. Explosive rounds for regenerating materials. Incendiary rounds for energy-absorbing defenses. We have been perfecting kinetic weapons for centuries while you focused on energy systems." Admiral Morrison joined her. "Every human soldier carries weapons that can defeat your most advanced defenses. Our bullets move faster than your shields can react. They hit harder than your armor can adapt to. They cause more damage than your biosystems can repair." The aliens in the galleries stared down at the humans in shock. The 3 targets that had resisted their most powerful energy weapons lay in ruins, destroyed by simple metal bullets fired from chemical-powered guns. Counselor Vex was the first to speak. His silver face had lost its amused expression. "But surely these are specially designed targets. Your weapons would not be effective against our military forces in real combat." Dr. Carter smiled for the first time since arriving at Nexus Prime. "Would you like us to demonstrate against some of your energy weapons? We brought plenty of ammunition." The offer hung in the air like a challenge. The aliens looked at their expensive, complex weapons, and then at the simple human guns. For the first time, they began to understand that chemical propulsion might not be as primitive as they had thought. The mockery had stopped. Now came the fear. The alien representatives gathered in small groups around the arena, their voices low and worried. The confident laughter from earlier had completely disappeared. Instead, beings who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years whispered nervously about what they had just witnessed. Counselor Vex stood with a group of Zephyrian officials, their silver faces reflecting the arena lights. "How is this possible?" he asked quietly. "Our energy shields are the most advanced in the galaxy. They have protected our fleets for centuries." General Zeth paced back and forth, his large reptilian feet clicking on the metal floor. "My scientists assured me that molecular disruptors were the ultimate weapon. Nothing should be able to survive pure energy that breaks apart atoms." A Vex drone buzzed anxiously around its bioweapons display. "The living armor has never failed before. It has regenerated from every attack we have ever tested. How did simple explosives cause such complete destruction? Dr. Lisa Carter stood patiently in the center of the arena, waiting for the aliens to finish their discussions. Admiral Jake Morrison checked his watch and looked around at the worried faces in the galleries above. The other human soldiers cleaned their weapons with calm efficiency, as if destroying the galaxy's best defenses was just another day at work. Finally, Counselor Dex approached the humans. His tall frame moved slowly, and his large eyes showed uncertainty for the first time in decades. Dr. Carter, we would very much like to understand what happened here today. Our weapons are built on the most advanced science in the galaxy. How do your primitive guns defeat our technology so easily? Lisa Carter adjusted her glasses and looked up at the towering alien. They are not primitive, Counselor. That is your first mistake. You see chemical propulsion and think of ancient technology. We see physics in its purest form. She walked over to a table and picked up one of the rifle bullets. This projectile weighs exactly 7.62 grams. When fired, it moves at 850 meters per second. That gives it kinetic energy of 2,740 joules. But the real power comes from focusing all that energy into a tiny point. General Zeth joined the growing crowd around Dr. Carter. But our energy weapons deliver much more power than that. A single plasma bolt carries millions of joules, spread out over a wide area, Carter replied. Your plasma creates heat and light across the entire impact zone. Our bullet puts all its energy into a space smaller than your fingernail. Pressure equals force divided by area. Make the area tiny, and even small force becomes enormous pressure. She held up different types of bullets. We do not just fire simple metal balls. This is armor-piercing ammunition with a tungsten core. Tungsten is one of the hardest materials in the universe. This round can punch through 3 feet of steel. Captain Amy Brooks stepped forward with another bullet. This is a hollow point round. It expands when it hits soft targets, creating massive internal damage. This one fragments into dozens of pieces, each moving at lethal speed. Corporal Danny Walsh showed a larger bullet with a pointed tip, explosive ammunition. The bullet carries a small charge that detonates after penetration. Instead of making one hole, it creates a crater. Dr. Carter continued her explanation. We have incendiary rounds that burn at 3,000 degrees. Tracer rounds that let us see where shots are going. Armor-piercing incendiary rounds that combine penetration with fire. We have bullets designed specifically for every type of target. A crystal singer floated closer, its musical voice filled with concern. But surely your weapons have limitations. Our energy systems can fire continuously as long as power is available. Admiral Morrison spoke for the first time since the demonstration. Our weapons fire as fast as we can pull the trigger. This rifle holds 30 rounds and can be reloaded in under 3 seconds. A trained soldier can fire aimed shots every half-second. What about ammunition supply? Asked a thermal lord. Energy weapons draw power from the ship's reactor. Your bullets must be manufactured and transported. Dr. Carter smiled. Human industry produces over 50 billion rounds of ammunition per year. Our factories can make bullets faster than our soldiers can fire them. Each round costs less than a single energy cell for your weapons. She walked to another display table. These bullets work in any environment. Vacuum, atmosphere, underwater, in Arctic cold or desert heat. They need no power source, no complex charging systems, no exotic materials. Just metal, propellant, and basic chemistry. The aliens looked more worried with each explanation. These simple human weapons seemed to have solutions for every problem that plagued advanced energy systems. Range, said General Zeth desperately. Surely our energy weapons have superior range. Plasma bolts can travel for kilometers before losing coherence. Staff Sergeant Ryan Tucker stepped forward with a sniper rifle. Our record for longest confirmed kill is 3,540 meters. That was with a standard rifle. This weapon can accurately hit targets at over 5,000 meters. In space, with guided projectiles, there is no maximum range. Guided projectiles? Counselor Thex's voice cracked slightly. Smart bullets, Carter explained. Tiny guidance systems built into the ammunition. They can change course to follow. Moving targets. Some use micro-rockets for propulsion. Others use electromagnetic steering. We have bullets that can fly around corners. The Vex drone's mandibles clicked nervously. What about our ship's armor? Surely your small weapons cannot threaten our battle cruisers. Admiral Morrison pulled out a tablet and showed images of larger human weapons. These are railguns. They use electromagnetic force to accelerate projectiles to incredible speeds. A railgun round moving at 10% of light speed can punch through any ship armor in the galaxy. We also have Gauss rifles that use magnetic fields for propulsion. Added Dr. Carter. Coil guns that accelerate bullets through electromagnetic tubes. Mass drivers that can throw projectiles across solar systems. Chemical propulsion was just our starting point. She looked around at the worried alien faces. While you spent centuries perfecting energy weapons, we perfected kinetic systems. We studied every aspect of projectile physics. Ballistics, aerodynamics, materials science, propellant chemistry. We turned simple bullets into precision instruments of destruction. Your energy weapons are impressive, Admiral Morrison said, but they are complex. They require rare elements, sophisticated power systems, and constant maintenance. Our guns work with basic metal and simple chemistry. A human soldier can maintain his rifle with tools that fit in his pocket. Dr. Carter picked up the rifle from the demonstration. This weapon was built 60 years ago. It has fired over 50,000 rounds. It has been dropped, submerged in water, buried in sand, and exposed to extreme temperatures. It still fires accurately every time the trigger is pulled. The aliens stood in stunned silence, finally understanding the truth. They had dismissed human weapons as primitive because they looked simple. But simplicity was their greatest strength. While alien weapons failed when power ran low or components broke, human guns just kept working. There is one more thing you should know, Dr. Carter said quietly. Every human learns to use these weapons. Not just soldiers, farmers, factory workers, teachers, children. We have over 8 billion people on Earth, and most of them know how to shoot. She paused to let that number sink in. Your most elite warriors train for years to master energy weapons. Our children learn to handle guns before they learn to drive vehicles. We do not just have better weapons. We have more people who know how to use them. The demonstration was over, but the real lesson was just beginning. The aliens finally understood that they had not been facing primitive technology. They had been looking at weapons so advanced that they appeared simple. The humans had not fallen behind in the arms race. They had won it centuries ago by choosing a different path. As they groups began to leave the arena, worried conversations echoed through the crystal dome. The balance of galactic power had just shifted, and everyone knew it. The species that had mocked human guns now feared them more than any energy weapon ever built. The revelation was complete, but the consequences were just beginning. News of the weapon demonstration spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within days, every major power knew about the human guns that had defeated advanced alien defenses. Most species reacted with worry and calls for new defense research. But 3 aggressive empires saw only opportunity. The hegemony of Soars had been looking for easy targets to expand their territory. The Ravager clans wanted new worlds to raid and plunder. The Machine Syndicate needed resources for their endless construction projects. All three powers had the same thought when they heard about primitive human weapons. Here was a species that would be simple to conquer. Lord Commander Vash of the Sour's hegemony studied the reports with amusement. Energy shields useless against metal bullets? This just proves how backward these humans really are. Our ground forces use kinetic barriers, not energy shields. These primitive weapons will be ineffective against proper military technology. Warlord Krex of the Ravager clans laughed as he watched video of the demonstration. Look how slow their weapons fire. Our warriors can dodge individual bullets easily. These humans will provide excellent sport for my raiders. Overmind Unit 7 of the Machine Syndicate calculated attack probabilities. Human weapons show 67% effectiveness against energy-based defenses. Our forces use adaptive armor plating and redundant systems. Projected human effectiveness drops to 12%. Victory probability, 94.7%. Within a month, the three empires had formed an alliance. They would divide human space between them after the conquest. The hegemony would take the industrial worlds. The Ravagers would claim the agricultural planets, and the machines would strip mine the asteroid colonies. It seemed like a perfect plan. The first target was New Phoenix Colony, a mining world on the edge of human space. The planet had a small population and light defenses. It looked like an easy victory that would prove human weakness to the rest. Of the Galaxy Dot, the Sour's hegemony fleet arrived first. 12 heavy cruisers and 50 smaller ships carrying 100,000 ground troops. Their commander was General Vex, a veteran warrior who had conquered dozens of worlds. He stood on his command ship's bridge and looked down at the human colony through the viewing screen. "Begin the assault," he ordered. "I want this world taken in 6 hours. Make sure some humans survive to spread word of their defeat." Thousands of dropships launched from the hegemony fleet. They carried elite soldiers equipped with kinetic barriers that could stop fast-moving projectiles. Their armor was designed specifically to defeat the bullet weapons that humans used. Each soldier also carried energy weapons for offense and advanced shields for defense. Commander Steve Parker watched the enemy ships approach from his command bunker deep underground. He had only 5,000 human soldiers to defend the entire planet. His forces looked impossibly outnumbered, but Steve was not worried. He had seen what human weapons could do. "All units, hold fire until they deploy," he ordered over the radio. "Let them get comfortable on the ground. Remember the ammunition types we discussed. Armor-piercing for their barriers, explosive for their vehicles, incendiary for their equipment." The alien dropships landed in perfect formation across the main continent. Soldiers poured out in organized waves, their equipment gleaming under the colony's sun. Energy shields shimmered around their positions as they began advancing toward the human settlements. "Forward," commanded General Vex from his landing craft. "These primitives cannot stand against hegemony technology. Victory will be ours before sunset." The alien soldiers marched confidently across the open ground. Their kinetic barriers were active, designed to stop any projectile moving faster than 500 meters per second. Their armor could deflect energy weapons and absorb impact from explosions. They had every advantage that advanced technology could provide. Then the humans opened fire. The sound was unlike anything the aliens had ever heard. Not the clean hum of energy weapons or the sharp crack of plasma guns. This was the thunder of thousands of chemical weapons firing at once. The noise rolled across the battlefield like an approaching storm. The first wave of bullets hit the kinetic barriers and stopped, just as designed. The alien soldiers cheered and continued their advance. But the barriers had a fatal flaw. They could only stop a limited number of projectiles before overloading. Human soldiers fired in volleys, sending hundreds of rounds at each enemy position. The kinetic barriers flickered and sparked as they absorbed bullet after bullet. Within seconds, the systems overloaded and failed completely. Now the real slaughter began. Armor-piercing rounds punched through alien body armor like it was made of paper. Explosive bullets detonated inside enemy vehicles, turning advanced war machines into burning wreckage. Incendiary rounds set equipment on fire faster than automated systems could extinguish the flames. The alien advance stopped completely. Soldiers who had been confident of victory moments before now scrambled for cover behind rocks and crashed ships. Their energy weapons had impressive range, but required time to charge and aim. Human bullets arrived faster than alien soldiers could react. Impossible. General Vex screamed over the radio. Our barriers are perfect. Our armor is impenetrable. How are primitive weapons penetrating our defenses? The answer came from Commander Parker's voice, broadcast on all frequencies. Your barriers stop fast bullets. They overload when hit by many bullets. Your armor stops energy. It fails against kinetic impact. You prepared for the wrong kind of war. In space above the planet, a different battle was beginning. The USS Liberty, commanded by Captain Nicole Hayes, faced the entire hegemony fleet, with only 3 other human ships. The odds seemed impossible, but Nicole had studied alien tactics for years. "Launch Missile Barrage 1, she ordered. "Target their command ship." Hundreds of missiles streaked toward the alien fleet. The hegemony ships activated their energy shields, confident in their protection. The missiles struck the barriers and exploded harmlessly, just as expected. "Their shields are holding," reported the tactical officer. "Missiles ineffective." Nicole smiled. Those were just the markers. Fire the railguns. The real attack came seconds later. Solid tungsten rods, accelerated to tremendous speed by electromagnetic force, followed the missile paths. The energy shields that had stopped explosive warheads offered no resistance to solid metal moving at significant fractions of light speed. The projectiles punched through alien hulls like needles through cloth. Ships that had dominated battlefields for centuries split in half from single hits. Advanced armor and sophisticated shields proved useless against simple physics applied with human precision. "Emergency retreat," General Vex ordered, but it was too late. His command ship was already breaking apart around him. "All ships withdraw. Abandon the assault." The survivors of the hegemony fleet fled the system, leaving behind the wreckage of their invasion force. On the planet below, the few alien soldiers who had survived the ground assault surrendered or ran for their crashed ships. Similar defeats occurred when the Ravager clans attacked 3 human freight stations and the Machine Syndicate tried to capture an asteroid mining facility. In every case, alien forces that had seemed overwhelmingly powerful were destroyed by human weapons they could not defend against. The galaxy watched in shock as 3 major military powers were defeated in a matter of days. Ships that had been considered invincible were reduced to debris. Soldiers who had conquered worlds were scattered like leaves in a storm. The species that used primitive chemical weapons had proven that sometimes the oldest solutions were still the best. Within a week, the 3 aggressive empires were in complete retreat. Their fleets were shattered, their armies were destroyed, and their leaders were dead or in hiding. The balance of galactic power had shifted dramatically in favor of the species that everyone had underestimated. The humans had been mocked for their simple guns. Now those same weapons had toppled empires and changed the course of galactic history. The age of energy weapon dominance was over. The age of human kinetic warfare had begun. Word spread quickly through diplomatic channels. Do not attack the humans. Their weapons may look primitive, but they are devastatingly effective. Three empires had learned this lesson the hard way. Others would be wise to avoid making the same mistake. The war was over almost before it began, and the humans had won without losing a single planet. 6 months after the failed invasions, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The great crystal dome of Nexus Prime buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from dozens of species gathered to discuss the new reality. The three empires that had attacked humanity were now broken powers, their fleets destroyed and their territories in chaos. Admiral Jake Morrison walked through the same entrance where aliens had once mocked his weapons. This time, no one laughed. Beings who had towered over him with arrogance now stepped aside respectfully. The simple black uniform that had looked plain before now seemed to represent something far more dangerous. Dr. Lisa Carter followed behind him, still carrying the same metal case that held human weapons. But now that case was viewed with fear rather than amusement. Every alien in the dome knew what those simple guns could do to their most advanced technology. The seating arrangement had changed dramatically. 6 months ago, humans had been given a small section in the back corner, barely noticed by the major powers. Today, they sat at the center of the main floor, with Prime speaking position before the entire assembly. Counselor Dex of the Zephyrians was the first to approach. His silver face showed none of the superiority it had displayed during the weapon demonstration. Admiral Morrison, the Zephyrian Empire wishes to discuss mutual defense agreements. We believe our technologies could complement each other in beneficial ways. Before Morrison could respond, General Zeth of the Krillians interrupted. The Dominion offers exclusive trade partnerships with humanity. Our biotechnology, combined with your kinetic systems, could create unprecedented innovations. A line began forming as species after species requested meetings with the human delegation. The same beings who had dismissed human weapons as primitive now desperately wanted to ally themselves with human military power. Admiral Morrison raised his hand for silence. We appreciate your interest, but first we need to address the current situation. 3 major powers attacked human colonies without provocation. Their actions threatened peaceful civilians and violated every principle of civilized conduct. He gestured to a display screen that showed the wreckage of alien fleets floating in space. The hegemony of Soars, the Ravager clans, and the Machine Syndicate are no longer threats to anyone. Their military forces have been eliminated. Their leadership is dead or in hiding. Their territories are now under human protection. Murmurs of concern rippled through the assembly. The aliens had hoped that human victory would lead to negotiation and compromise. Instead, it seemed that humanity was claiming the conquered territories. As spoils of war, Dr. Carter stood and addressed the crowd. We want to be very clear about human intentions. We did not seek this conflict, but we will not ignore its lessons. Peaceful species have nothing to fear from humanity. However, any power that threatens innocent civilians will face immediate human intervention. She activated a holographic display showing human military positions throughout the galaxy. We are establishing the Kinetic Defense Initiative. Human fleets will patrol key trade routes and protect vulnerable colonies. Our weapons may seem primitive to you, but they are devastatingly effective against your advanced technology. The display showed dozens of human ships taking positions near potential trouble spots. Each vessel bristled with railguns, missile launchers, and other kinetic weapons. The message was clear. Humanity now had the power to enforce peace throughout the galaxy. A Thermal Lord representative raised a flaming appendage. What gives humans the right to police galactic affairs? Many species have been spacefaring for thousands of years, while you have barely left your home system. Admiral Morrison's expression grew cold. 3 empires just proved that advanced age does not equal wisdom. They attacked us because they thought our weapons were primitive. they learned otherwise. Any species that makes the same mistake will face the same fate. Captain Amy Brooks stepped forward. Human doctrine is simple. We respond to aggression. With overwhelming force, we do not negotiate with attackers. We do not accept surrender from genocidal powers. We eliminate threats completely and permanently. The aliens shifted nervously in their seats. This was not the diplomatic language they were used to hearing. Humans spoke like conquerors, not negotiators. However, Dr. Carter continued, we do not want conquest or empire. We want trade, cooperation, and peace. Species that respect these principles will find humanity to be excellent partners. We offer protection from aggressors and access to our industrial capacity. She showed images of human manufacturing facilities. Our weapons production has increased dramatically since the attacks. We can now produce more ammunition in a day than most species use in a year. We can build railguns faster than you can build energy cannons. Our industrial might is available to defend our allies. The offer was both generous and threatening. Humanity would share its power with friends, but use it to destroy enemies. The choice seemed simple, but many aliens struggled with the new reality. A crystal singer harmonized a question. What prevents humanity from becoming the next galactic tyranny? Your weapons give you enormous advantage over all other species. Admiral Morrison considered the question carefully. Our history teaches us that empires always fall. Tyrannies create enemies who eventually unite against them. We prefer willing allies to conquered subjects. Dead enemies cannot trade with us or share their knowledge. Besides, added Dr. Carter, controlling the galaxy would be expensive and difficult. It is much easier to let other species govern themselves while we handle security matters. Everyone benefits when trade flows freely and pirates are eliminated. The logic was sound, but many aliens remained suspicious. Humanity had just demonstrated crushing military superiority. What stopped them from using that power for conquest instead of protection? Staff Sergeant Ryan Tucker answered their unspoken concerns. Every human soldier learns about the costs of war. We know that occupation breeds rebellion. We understand that cooperation produces better results than coercion. Our military exists to protect, not to conquer. Over the following hours, dozens of species signed preliminary agreements with humanity. Trade deals, mutual defense pacts, and technology sharing arrangements were negotiated rapidly. The aliens wanted human protection, and humans wanted access to alien science and resources. The Vex Collective offered their biotechnology in exchange for human weapons training. The Thermal Lords provided advanced metallurgy for access to human ammunition designs. Even the proud Zephyrians agreed to share their energy systems for human kinetic expertise. As the sessions concluded, a new diplomatic order was emerging. Humanity had become the galaxy's military superpower, not through conquest, but through demonstration of overwhelming defensive capability. The species that had mocked human guns now competed for human friendship. Dr. Carter packed the weapons back into their simple metal case. 6 months ago, you laughed at these guns. Today, they have reshaped galactic civilization. Sometimes the most important innovations look deceptively simple. Admiral Morrison addressed the assembly one final time. The galaxy has learned that energy weapons are not automatically superior to kinetic systems. Advanced technology is not always better than proven solutions. Most importantly, you have learned not to underestimate humans. As the human delegation prepared to leave, a new ship appeared in the system's outer reaches. It was an alien vessel from a species that had not attended the council session. The ship's crew had heard rumors about human weapons, but dismissed them as exaggerated propaganda. The ship's captain contacted the human fleet with a message full of threats and demands. He insisted that humans surrender their territory, or face the consequences. He boasted about his species' advanced weapons and superior technology. Admiral Morrison sighed and ordered his ships to respond. Some beings only learn through direct experience. Show them what kinetic weapons can do. The alien ship was destroyed in less than 30 seconds. Its energy shields and advanced armor proved as useless as everyone else's had been. The wreckage joined the growing debris fields that marked humanity's rise to galactic prominence. Word of the destruction spread quickly through diplomatic channels. The message was clear. Humanity's patience had limits. Species that chose cooperation would prosper. Those that chose conflict would be eliminated. The galaxy had entered a new age. The species that had ridiculed human guns now lived under their protection. 3 empires had fallen in seconds, just as the old saying predicted. The humans had proven that sometimes the oldest weapons were still the deadliest. Peace reigned throughout the galaxy, enforced by chemical propulsion and simple physics. The age of human dominance had begun, not through conquest, but through the irresistible logic of superior firepower applied with precision and restraint. In the end, the beings who had mocked primitive human technology learned the most important lesson of all: never underestimate the power of a species that had perfected the art of throwing rocks really, really fast.